Last night I had a dream that I was floating over an ocean of orange soda. Well, it wasn't so much a dream, it was more of a fantasy. All right, welcome to ClackCo Works, conversations with people who work for Clackamas County and the community. Today, I'm Dylan Blaylock with Public and Government Affairs of Clackamas County. Today, we are here with Daniel Nybauer. He is the Director of the Office of Disaster Management at Clackamas County. Very cool job. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Dylan.
All right, I've worked with you for a number of years because we do stuff with disaster preparedness at the county a lot, and a lot of that is communications and all sorts of stuff. But in a nutshell, we'll start out with, what does disaster management do?
Sure. So we help the community prepare for, respond to, and recover from disasters by creating plans. We're conducting training, doing exercises. During a response, we coordinate resources and response efforts. We work with other county departments, various government agencies, nonprofits, private organizations, all in the effort to minimize the impact of events like natural disasters or man-made disasters. We also promote emergency and disaster preparedness through presentations at community meetings and campaigns like the new Be ClackCo Prepared campaign.
Right, I want to talk about that. So what kinds of emergencies in general, I'm sure everybody in this area knows of some, but just what's the sort of gamut of the types of disasters that we prep for?
Sure, there's a large gamut from small to large, and we have our fair share of plenty of potential disasters. We do take an all hazards approach. So while we consider the disaster, we really look for and plan for the functions that are needed to respond to any major events. Of course, the hazards shape what they are. We have incidents like landslides, volcano eruptions, droughts, potentially tornadoes. They're all on our radar. We spend a lot of our time looking at wildfires, extreme heat, extreme cold, winter storms, floods, and of course the earthquake.
Yeah.
So for the extreme weather, we're really working with our partners to open warming or cooling, right? Does it depend? Is it extreme cold, extreme heat?
Right.
Preparing for getting public messaging out on protective actions, clearing transportation routes if it's snow or ice,
right,
and checking on our at-risk community members, those that might be more vulnerable to those extreme heats.
It seems like the one major commonality that we always prepare for with disasters, be it the really common ones that you're talking about with the cold or the heat or flood or the wildfire, is sheltering. Like, no matter what, you have to be in charge of making sure we have places for people to go. Is that fair?
Yeah, no, that's a real fair assessment. And I tell people all the time as we go through our different trainings with different groups that the kind of job really is to take care of people. And so that may be sheltering, but it could also be setting up disaster resource centers to get people the resources and the information that they need to survive and to thrive.
Yeah. So what happens here when, just so everybody knows, when there's first sign of a disaster, or once we know something going on, what's called the Emergency Operations Center is sort of, started. What is the Emergency Operations Center that we also refer to just inside the county as the EOC?
Yeah. So we're not a first responder agency like police and fire. Our role ends up being more kind of managerial or coordination.
Right.
So our Emergency Operations Center, EOC, functions as a central point of coordination for county departments and all of our partners. From the EOC, we support the on-scene responders. We direct county response operations, so things like evacuation, alerting, sheltering, manage the flow of resources and information, and we're always thinking ahead. This incident's going on right now. How could this incident grow and get worse?
Yeah.
How are we informing people about it? So that's what the EOC does, kind of in a small snippet.
And with some of the emergencies, I mean, we're very on alert for them ahead of time, because if we have like a red flag warning during the summer, we know that maybe a wildfire could be a possibility, so we watch that. But some of them are just all of a sudden spontaneous. I remember when you called me one morning on Saturday morning at like 7 a.m. because there was an industrial fire going on with chemicals and stuff, and it was like, great, that is what we have to deal with right now.
Yeah, we get very short notice notifications sometimes. Those usually come through our 911 or our Clackamas Communications dispatch center.
Yeah.
And they let us know when things reach certain thresholds. Or our first response partners have requested our assistance for some reason. And then a lot of people get my calls, and
Yes,
that's always happy to.
That's the job. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's walk through the EOC a little bit more, but I'd like to do it with an example. So, because it's really, the EOC is, I want people to understand, it's very, very structured, and people have very specific roles in there. That's for efficiency, to make sure that we can respond as well as possible and as effectively as possible. So you get the notification, since you're command in the EOC and you're the one who sort of starts it. You get a notification that there is a wildfire out somewhere in the county. So, and you turn on the EOC. What happens then, and what sort of are the different components of the EOC, and how would they respond?
Sure. So our first step with when we get a notification like that, coming again from our 911 or dispatch center, comes into our duty officer, and our duty officer quickly calls into dispatch and finds out exactly what's going on and what's requested. Mm-hmm. And often now, fortunately, it's becoming more just awareness. Hey, we have this brush fire. You know what's going on. We get a quick assessment of what that is, and we'll send somebody to the dispatch center.
Okay.
And if it looks like that an evacuation is going to be imminent, and so let's say in this case it is, as soon as that request comes in, if we don't have a person in yet, dispatch will begin the notifications. And if not, and we have somebody in, they'll begin that. They'll check in with our law enforcement partners, whoever is the jurisdiction that's there, get that notification approved. That gets sent out. And then we're already coordinating with our partners with County GIS, who's putting up our handy evacuation map for people to look at.
Yeah.
And as well as with our partners here at Public and Government Affairs,
right,
as our public information officer, to start getting that message out to media and to social media to make sure that we're pushing that as much as possible. And so as soon as we kind of hit that evacuation and we see that it's going to last a long time, that's when we more formally activate our emergency operations center to what we would call level 2. Okay. That's when we begin calling in additional county partners, because that's where we really begin to need to take care of people. So far up to this point, we've notified them. Now we're like, hey, we're taking them out of their homes. And they need a place to stay. And so that's when we notify that. And that's where we're pulling in other partners from our health, housing, and human services, and if they haven't been notified, our transportation and development partners, and a whole bunch of other partners come into
the roads and stuff.
Come into that EOC and begin kind of working on the situation. And so we'll have, as you mentioned, the command group, and they kind of really direct and serve as the interface to the county administration and to our county commissioners.
Then there's sections within the EOC. And what are those sections?
So then we have our operations section, and they are the ones who do stuff, right? They're the ones who are actually opening the shelters. They're checking on the status of the roads. They're putting out alerts and getting all of that work done. Next, we have our planning section, and our planning section is in charge of understanding the situation. And their job is just to pull in as much information, verify information, see if there's anything that they need to track down. They also write our plan for the next day. So if this fire begins up really growing, they begin to say, hey, we're not going to be able to shut down tomorrow. People are still going to be out of their homes. Firefighters are still going to be on scene. This is how we're going to look at what we need to do tomorrow. Then we have our logistics section. They get everything that we need once we identify different things that we need. It can be food, could be water, could be a facility. They're the ones who work on procuring that for us and managing that for us and getting things different places. And then finally, our finance section, right? It's important that we pay for the things that we do, as well as that we're taking care of public funds, and therefore not pay more. So they really track that and understand what our costs are.
And of course, it's super important with the finance side to track everything, because we often will get reimbursed by the state or the federal government if it reaches disaster status, because if that doesn't happen and we have to pay for it out of other budgets, that's a problem, because then it's less money for the county. So that's also super important. Great. So, I mean, you mentioned it a little bit. How do you work with county partners and the different emergency response units like fire and police or anything while in the thick of it, when the EOC is activated and there's a fire going on or whatever? Are there representatives from those places in the EOC? Are you in constant communication with them? How does that work?
We're always in constant communications with our first response partners that are out there, understanding their needs, understanding what the situation looks like. What are the next decisions they need supported, or what's going on in there. Sometimes it means they're going to have somebody in there with us. Sometimes it means we might send somebody up there. During the Camp Creek fire, a federal, what they call incident management team came in, and they were managing and fighting the fire up there. And so we sent one of our folks up there. Turned out to be super valuable for us to understand what was going on, the passing of information. They could understand how the county operated. In other cases, we've had folks like that come into our EOC and operate there, and that allows for that communication. As soon as we sense a need for that, whether it's through a gap or whether it's just because we have a lot of operations going on, we try to get someone in person because that tends to work best.
And I think it's important. I just want to emphasize, just for the listeners at home, that it's not that people just get stuck into these roles. We train for them. We train and we practice these roles for many times over the years, and usually multiple times a year for these scenarios. And everybody at the county who works in the EOC does that. They're not just thrown into it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. We hold what we call EOC Academy.
Right.
Once, if not twice a year. And so staff, whether they're familiar with EOC or not, welcome to come there, and we run through all of the different sections, what the sections do, how the EOC operates. And then we hold exercises, and they can be sometimes simple exercises where we're sitting around a table just talking about how we would respond to a particular incident, all the way till this upcoming May. We're going to have a larger scale wildfire exercise where we will activate the EOC and staff it. We will be opening a shelter. We'll have our partners doing different response things, and that allows us to really kind of work out some of the kinks between communications, coordination, and operations.
And it's important to just continue to hone that skill and just make sure everybody's ready to go, because that's when it happens.
Right.
You just never know. Drop of a hat. So what do you wish that if you could make sure that everybody in the county knew one or two things, or could do one or two things just to prepare and make sure they had them and their families as well prepared as possible, what would it be?
Yeah, the first and foremost is going to the county public alerts page. You can find that by searching Clackamas public alerts. It'll bring you right to the page. It's also at clackamas.us/dm/public alerts.
Yep.
That's where you can sign up to get alerts from us.
Right.
We have ways of pushing alerts out to your phone, even if you haven't signed up, but signing up for the alerts is the easiest way for us to notify you that there is something going on near your house or place of business. So that is the number one thing, is for you to be aware if we need to put out that notification. I think the next big thing is looking at our ClackCo Prepare campaign.
Yeah.
That's available at clackcoprepared.org, and that's G-O, not C-O.
Right.
And that runs you through the public alerts system and how to sign that up through that, but then also shows you how to know your evacuation routes. So how can you get away from your house or where you are in the event of a disaster or an incident that would affect you. Right. And then finally, building a kit. And how do you build a kit for your home so that if you had to evacuate your home, you can do that quickly, as well as information on other things that are valuable for you to have or to think of when you're in a disaster.
Very good. Thank you. Daniel Neibauer is the director of the Office of Disaster Management for Clackamas County. He spends his time worrying about how he can safeguard our families, and we thank him for that. And thanks for being on the show.
Thanks, Dylan.